price isn't always signal, but it's just the start because we know that BlackRock is there's times when there's fundamental developments that are really building. Gold has become not only a story that maintains itself as a store of value, but it's very likely going to be tokenized on the blockchain. So gold is, joining the blockchain revolution as well.
First of all, looking at the current landscape, we have seen across the crypto and also the macro landscape, rate cuts, inflation's conversation driver, and also plenty of geopolitical headlines this year, leading up to some big market movements. And I'm curious to see, as we're looking ahead, moving into 2026, what is one of the macro signals that matter the most for crypto for you right now?
Yes, when I look ahead at 2026, I think it's a really attractive setup. Monetary policy's been tight for 3 years now, and we're just beginning to get some easing, but we also have a new Fed chair, and I think that the idea is to unleash and improve monetary liquidity. That's a big tailwind. The business cycle has been muted for the last 4 years. The ISM manufacturing, which is a measure of business activity, has been below 50 for 36 months. It's the longest stretch below 50 in the history of the ISM survey. It shows you business confidence has been muted because of inflation and then Fed tightness and then policy uncertainty and tariffs, but that all clears next year. And we know that investors are very skeptical because sentiment remains negative and people talk about an AI bubble, but measurable surveys like AAII show people are negative. And that's a contrarian tailwind because when everyone's bearish and they're sitting on a lot of cash, then if the market moves away from them, they're going to chase that. So I think that that's a formula that's very supportive of stocks next year. However, the timing is a little uncertain because we're coming off 3 years of really good gains. So I think that the first part of next year, maybe the market has to digest that a bit, but it should play out really strongly for the full year.
And now moving over into crypto and some of the work that you're doing at BitMine. People do call you the Michael Saylor of Ethereum. Now, you said that ETH is one of the biggest trades of the next decade. Now, looking at where the markets are behaving today, I'm curious to hear from you, Tom. What makes you so confident rather than dial that view back?
Well, crypto's been disappointing the last few months because prices are down a lot. And when prices are down, first of all, we know the mood turns really dark. People get second guess, especially because price is so important as a signal in crypto. And now people are really worried that this is the start of the 4-year cycle of the downturn, which might last a year. So that's at the back of people's minds. But I would say people should be wary that price isn't always signal because there's times when there's fundamental developments that are really building. And I see this in equity markets all the time while price remains skeptical. I think we're in one of those moments because Bitcoin has become an institutional asset. So that's very different than the last 10 years. Really 15 years for Bitcoin. It's for the first time has a different buyer. And the US government just about to finalize the Clarity Act and some action regarding the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. That's a brand new buyer. And on Ethereum specifically, there is a huge runway coming because of stablecoins, which is a tokenization of a dollar. But it's just the start because we know that BlackRock and Robinhood and everyone else wants to tokenize everything on the blockchain. That's a big unlock of activity, which is going to happen regardless of whether prices of Ethereum and Bitcoin aren't going straight up because these are innovations in financial products. So I'm in the camp that we have not really seen the peak associated with a 4-year cycle. In fact, in some ways, because of muted monetary liquidity and all the suppressed animal spirits, the market's been super concentrated this year. I think that the best prices are going to be seen next year for both Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Have we officially waved goodbye to the 4-year cycle? You've mentioned the fact that we are going to see different buyers because we have seen institutions enter into the race. Have we waved goodbye to the typical cyclical movements that we have no crypto to be standing for?
It's a good question, and the way the way this is ultimately proven is if Bitcoin makes a new high before end of January, which I believe will happen. But we did talk about that in the most recent BitMine chairman's message from November, that we looked at things that could explain the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. In the past, what peaked that explained why Bitcoin was following that cycle. The two things that really explain Bitcoin's price peaks that were not time related, like not just saying the clock, was the copper versus gold price ratio. That makes sense because it's industrial activity versus monetary base. That has always peaked in coincidence with the past peaks of Bitcoin price. But copper to gold has actually been at a low right now, meaning we actually haven't seen copper gold peak. Why is that? I think part of it has to do with stablecoins buying so much gold this year. They are the single biggest buyer of gold. They've driven gold to an all-time high. And that means there's a huge move coming in copper. The second is, then that will mark the Bitcoin peak. The second is the ISM. ISM has always peaked in coincidence with the Bitcoin price peaks in the past. But as I mentioned earlier, ISM has now been below 50 for almost 40 months, the longest stretch in history. Until the business cycle and industrial cycle peak, I don't think Bitcoin's going to peak in price.
And we will be hearing you speak at Binance Blockchain, which is a true honor to have you join us. Thank you so much on behalf of the Binance team and also the community. We're thrilled to have you speak. What can our community expect from your keynote? And then we also have an AMA from you as well, Tom.
Well, I'm really looking forward to being at Binance Blockchain Week. It's happening in exactly the place you'd want it to, which is Dubai, where there's so much crypto innovation taking place. But also Dubai is where a lot of AI hyperscaling is going to take place, and even a lot of compute. And we know that crypto and AI are going to start to intersect in the agentic world. So I think it's an ideal place. I think what people are going to hear from us is really this vision of why crypto is entering a much different phase where it's becoming central to the economy. Up until now, Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins have all been a story of price, and it's created a lot of wealth, and it's really drawn in a community of dedicated people, but it hasn't created products that have actually worked in the real world. I think that's finally changing, and that's what makes the next 5-10 years so exciting.
Absolutely. And you're known, Tom, for your very bold calls. You never shy away from them. So when it comes to expectations, price predictions, or outlooks from either Bitcoin or Ethereum or something else that you're looking on at the moment, is there anything that you could share with us today?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. The first is, of course, we know we're in the midst of a downturn for crypto prices. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the ones everyone is watching because they're the two largest. And Bitcoin, of course, is the flagship. I think we are so close to the bottom here, especially for Ethereum. I mean, the bottom could be happening this week or within the next 4 days. And from there, we are going to have, I think, a V-shaped recovery because of the liquidity that's coming as the shutdown has ended, the US government shutdown. And also because the central bank, I think, is tilting dovish, especially with a potentially new Fed chair. That, I think, should propel prices very strongly into the end of January. And that's where I think Ethereum, could be 7,000 to 9,000. And I believe Bitcoin is going to recover to past its all-time high by that time.
Fantastic. Well, watch this space. And Tom, just finally and quickly, because I won't take up too much more of your time, but you did mention gold's price performance and also the fact that, interestingly, gold's price performance could be down to stable coins buying up and accumulating gold. We do have CZ Peter Schiff on a digital gold versus Bitcoin debate. Who do you think could possibly take the crown on the debate during Binance Week?
Well, I'm always going to root for CZ. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. Gold has become not only a story that has shown it maintains itself as a store of value, but it's very likely going to be tokenized on a blockchain. So gold is, joining the blockchain revolution as well.